talking about defeating imposter syndrome. And it looks like I might have the wrong. No, I don't. Defeating imposter syndrome. And we're going to be talking about that today. So go ahead and jump in. As you jump in, say hello. I'm going to make sure that people can hear me and see me and share out to the groups. This month, I'm doing all the live lessons on the public page, but that will stop after April, after we're done with our launch month. And then all the live lessons are actually going to be, the live lessons are actually going to be, let me change that. There you go. The live lessons are actually going to be only in the group. So you have to be within the group to gain access to it. So let me go ahead and share here. So hopefully everybody's doing all right tonight. Let me make sure. I always have to make sure that you guys can see and hear me. So for those that are watching live, I want you to be able to actually hear. We'll wait for a few people to jump in. So go ahead. Okay, so it looks good on Facebook. So let's share it out here. Okay, good. So we're talking about imposter syndrome this whole month, actually. And we're going to be talking about it because it's something that's very, very relevant in business. So, you know, the Kingdom Business Leadership Network is the platform that we are on. If you don't know what that is, I am the founder of that. And that is a spirit-filled Christian entrepreneurship community where we educate, where we find accountability, and we really go in God to be able to learn how to monetize our knowledge, skills, and expertise so that we can fulfill our God-given purpose. So we're going to be talking about all things kingdom business and things that will affect you as a kingdom business entrepreneur. So that is what this platform is all about. Hey, Nicole. So today we are going to be doing and talking about that. If you haven't joined us for our 5-day Make God Your CEO challenge, you are missing your life in that because we are having a good time. We go live at noon, so it's like a lunchtime learning. We've been going live every day this week talking about different aspects of making God your CEO. Today we were talking about leadership excellence, leadership style, and things like that. But we've been talking since Monday, so you can still jump in. Those that have registered, it's a free registration. Those that have registered will have access to the videos. And I went ahead and decided for those that have registered, they'll always have access. Now, for those that haven't, it's going to be packaged up a little bit different after the live viewing of it. So that's one announcement. And the next announcement is we have our KBLN network open this month, and we're having a flash sale with the membership as low as it will ever be, starting at $7. So it's the lowest that it will ever be. But that sale ends tomorrow. Few people have taken advantage of it. That sale ends tomorrow at 11:59 p.m. So you don't want to miss it. So go ahead and like and share out. And I'm going to jump right in because I don't want to be before you very long. So we're talking about imposter syndrome. And imposter syndrome is a concept that we hear in business quite often. So with imposter syndrome, it's actually the phenomenon or the feeling that you are not good enough or not suited to what you're doing, despite your accomplishments and despite all these things that say otherwise. You have feelings that you are a fraud, and you would not understand how much that actually impacts individuals. So if you've ever felt like that in anything that you've done in your career as a business owner, just put it in the chat, put yes in the chat, or throw up an emoji. But it's something that is really, really, really real. And it's something that happens. I know I've gone in and out of it before. Just sometimes it's just something that hits you. And it can take different forms just depending on how the person's wired. And that's what we're going to talk about today, the different forms or how it presents itself in people. And like I said, we're talking about kingdom entrepreneurship or entrepreneurs, but this can happen in your regular career, whether, whether you own a business or if you don't. So, okay, Nicole says yes, unfortunately. And we can cycle in and out of that just because there's things, and we're going to be talking about imposter syndrome this whole month, just different aspects of it. This week, we're talking more of just the foundation. Next week, we're going to talk about the spiritual side of it. And then And then we're going to talk, sorry about that, Instagram, a call came in. And then we're going to talk through a bunch of different things, other things in and around that as well. So it takes on various forms. It's rooted in our soulish realm. We know we're a three-part being. First Thessalonians 5:23 says that we have a spirit, or we have a spirit. That's the real us. We have a soul. We own a soul, meaning that it's our mind, our will, and our emotions, and we live in a body, a flesh and bone, physical body. So the soul, if you missed it real quick, I said it really fast, it's our mind, our intellect, our will, and our emotions. And this imposter syndrome is rooted in that soulish realm, our mind, our will, and our emotions. At times, it's our mind that's giving us these thoughts that are outside of what is even just true in the natural. It's certainly outside of what God says. But sometimes when you enter into environments that you're not used to being in, or environments where you might be seen or classified as the minority, and that doesn't necessarily have to be culturally or ethnically, that can also be gender wise, or just you can look at things like where you've come from. You might not be from the same class or status that the people in the room that you're with are from. Maybe they're all Ivy Leaguers in your community college, maybe it's things like that. Any of those things the enemy will use to make you feel that you're not good enough, you're not worthy to be in this room, you're not worthy to be in these places. And as entrepreneurs, especially kingdom entrepreneurs, we know that God's going to bring us into before kings, before great men and women, and just in different rooms that we might feel like in the natural that why are we here? But it's the favor of God that's brought us to where we're at, a favor of God that's brought us into certain situations. And in that, we know that we need to be there, and we're accepted because God said it. Our ticket was God. I don't know how these other people got up in this room, but I got here because of the Lord and his favor. And I'm going to act like I know it, and I'm going to act like a king's kid. But that imposter syndrome is what the enemy will use to make you feel like you shouldn't be here. They made a mistake and all these different things. Okay, hey, Star is watching. All these different things. That's the imposter syndrome, making you feel that you're not worthy. Why am I here? Why did they give me this? Why are people... It's even self-sabotage when you're in business and you're like, why are people, it's hard for me to believe that people are actually buying things from me and all this other type of stuff. That's the enemy. So it takes on various things, and it's designed to shake your confidence, and it's designed to stop you. It's designed to stop you from continuing on, and it's designed to stop you from acting in general and moving forward. Some of us are so rooted in imposter syndrome, before we even start or launch our businesses, we don't do it. Even though we know how to do it, the Lord has been putting it on our hearts forever and ever and ever. And why don't we do it? Because sometimes we feel like we're inadequate. Now, this is not for individuals that truly are inadequate. They're trying to do something that they've never done in their life, and they didn't get a clearance from God to do it, and they have like no basis for doing it. But that's not most people. That is an extreme example. That's not most people. But what we have to know is we have to push past whatever it is that's stopping us from moving forward when we know that it's God. We need to push past what's stopping us from continuing on when we know that it's God. And that's just the reality of it. And at times, social media can inadvertently validate the truth or the lie that the enemy is trying to tell you, that you are an imposter. Because what happens when you don't have a lot of people checking for you on social media or validating what you believe you're called to do and what you're out here with your business? You don't have a lot of people, or the people that you think that should be supporting you. So that in and of itself will make you feel like, that might make you feel like maybe I'm not doing the right thing. Where we can't be led by our emotions, and we cannot be led by the way other people are treating us when God has given us a word and God has told us to do something. I mean, I've said it before, out here in business, this stuff is not easy. It will mess with your emotions, because you have to deal with fear, you have to deal with rejection, you have to deal with all these things as part of being a business owner. And it's not anything that's new. It's not anything that nobody else has to go through. We just have to fight through it and lean on the Lord. But thank God we have the Lord, because we have something that we can lean on, and we have his word, and we have the promise that he's given us, especially if this is something that he's called and told you to do. Now, if you're doing something that he ain't called, or he has not told you to do, he hasn't given you the peace about, you need to go back to the throne and check in. You need to definitely go back to the throne and check in. So social media can inadvertently validate the lie of imposter syndrome in your life. And then also, another tidbit is that 70% of people actually suffer from imposter syndrome at some point in their work lives. So this is not you alone. The enemy uses the same tactic and the same trick on a bunch of people, and he's just trying to take people out. And what makes it bad is that there's a lot of things in the natural, your accomplishments say otherwise. Your accomplishments say otherwise. What your credentials, your background says otherwise. So there's different forms and ways that imposter syndrome actually manifests. And in my research, I found a researcher named Dr. Valerie Young, and this is her research that she's actually done in and around people that are dealing with imposter syndrome. And she has a few different ways. The first one is perfectionism. That's one way that imposter syndrome can manifest. So what she says, as kingdom entrepreneurs, we need to strive for excellence. If you went and listened to today's noonday live through the challenge, and it should be in all the groups so you guys can see it there, but we talked about excellence. So that's what we should strive for, but excellence is never perfection. It's never perfection. We talked about this at length this afternoon, but excellence is never perfection. Perfectionists often set high goals for themselves, and when they don't meet them, because they usually don't, because their goals are so high, they're high up in the sky, when they don't meet them, it opens up the door for self-doubt, for worry, for fear, for shame, for all these things, and it cycles them back into feeling that they're not good enough. When the truth of the matter is, God has made you good enough. They also struggle with control, meaning that it's hard for them to delegate. Nobody can do it better than them. And this is all rooted in imposter syndrome, right? They're not the perfectionist. And and I'm going to read this from the article, you're a perfectionist if anything I say right now is you. If you've ever been accused of being a micromanager. Micromanagers can be perfectionists because they think nobody can do it better than what they can do it. Do you have great difficulty delegating? Even when you're able to do so, do you feel frustrated and disappointed in the results? When you miss the insanely high mark that you set on something, do you accuse yourself of not being cut out for your job? And do you think about it for days and days on end? Do you feel like your work must be 100% perfect 100% of the time? Those are thoughts. Anybody you can put in the chat yes or no or emoji if that's been you, if you've thought that sometimes. I know it's been me. When I was reading this article, I was like, man, I did all this. So perfectionism can be a form of imposter syndrome. It can manifest itself in that way. And how you actually overcome that is by forgiving yourself. You're not perfect. God is perfect. You're not perfect. God doesn't expect you to be perfect. You have to understand that you're going to make mistakes, and it's just part of the process. I make mistakes all the time. I do things that are not exactly right. Sometimes I don't even follow my own advice and my own teaching, and I have an understanding of it. I'm like, okay, I forgive myself regarding this, and I know this is just part of it. It's going to get better. It's going to get easier. I'm going to get stronger. The things that I thought were hard last year are not going to be hard this year. So you encourage yourself, you talk to yourself, and at times imposter syndrome will stop you, like we said, stop you in your tracks. But the perfectionism side of it will cause you to keep planning and planning and planning, and there's never a perfect time. But you have to realize that you just have to do it afraid and start and do it before you feel like you're ready. Because your feelings can lie to you, right? Your feelings can often lie to you. Sometimes you will not feel like you're ready to do something. So you might not feel like you're ready to launch something. You might not feel like you're ready to do this particular product or this offering. Just do it afraid. Just start and do it. Put the offer out there, start building. There's some things, even with the first platform that I have in and around healing, I was supposed to do that like 3 years ago and just didn't do it. I started going live, did it for a good like 2 or 3 months, and then just completely stopped. What if I had continued on? Would I be further than where I'm at with growing those audiences in and around that particular vision or mission? Would I be further on? So you can't just keep saying that I'm not ready. I need to study some more. I need to do this some more. I need to do that some more. You can't just keep doing that. So there's never a perfect time. Do your due diligence as much as you can, but don't let that hold you back. Now, another way that imposter syndrome actually manifests itself is this whole thing about you being a superwoman or a superman. You push yourself harder so that you can be harder to be recognized and to measure up. So you feel like if you push yourself harder, you cover up the insecurities that you feel like you have. Often these people are workaholics. You might not know that's about you're working so you can get some validation by the work. You overwork and it puts a strain on your relationships and on your health. And this might be you and this is a lot of people, I've suffered for this as well. Do you stay later at work, later at the office than the rest of your team, even past the point that you've actually completed your necessary day's work? So meaning you're staying so you can come back the next day and say, oh yeah, I stayed late again. And so you can get validated by the fact that you were at work past when everybody else was there. So it makes you look like you're better than everybody else. Like you're the Superman or Superwoman, and because you're feeling this imposter syndrome, you feel like you have to do that to make yourself feel good. Do you get stressed when you're not working and find downtime completely wasteful? Now that can be me. Sometimes it's hard for me not to be working or when I'm having the downtime, I'm like, okay, I should be doing something right now. So that can also be a form of imposter syndrome. And have you left your hobbies and passions? Have you let them fall by the wayside because you sacrificed them for work? Do you feel like you haven't earned your title despite the credentials, the degrees, the achievements that you have? So you feel pressed to work harder and longer than those around you so you can prove that you're better and that you're worthy of what they've given you. Yeah, that's imposter syndrome. Those are things that are we hurt ourselves when we do those things. Now, if you're just a workaholic to be a workaholic, that's also not good as well. We need to have our rest. We need to have our proper time. I actually, in my podcast, my health and healing podcast, we talked about that. It's going to be coming out this next week where we talk about having a restful life. And it's so important. So is what I'm saying, you guys that are on here live, is it making sense to you all? Do you kind of see it? And the reason why we need to know these things is so we don't slip and fall into these mindsets, into these actions and these ways of being. We don't want to have to actually do that. So next we have, okay, good, it's still going on. Okay, I have to always check Facebook to make sure there's nothing screwy going on. So next we have the natural genius. So this is interesting. Oh, before I go there, I did want to say imposter workaholics are addicted to the validation that comes from working and not the work itself. So that was a good quote that she actually had. So no one should have any power to determine how you feel about yourself but God. He's the only one that should be telling us how we should relate and feel about ourselves. And we have to seek the internal validation and inner confidence through knowing who we are in Christ and what we are called to do. So that is the cure for the Superman, Superwoman syndrome, imposter syndrome. Okay, Nicole said, yes, my challenge is analysis paralysis with the imposter syndrome. Yes, and a lot of us are like that. I've been like that for a very long time. You keep planning and planning and planning when you really just need to step out and do it. And what it took for me was listening to another business coach say, what are you waiting on? Start doing it. Just start doing it. If you have this in your heart, just do it. So that might be the word to some of you guys out there. Just get up and do it and work on it, because you're going to learn and grow as you go, and you're going to make mistakes, but it's better to make mistakes while you're walking and you're doing it than sitting down and not interfacing with your ideal audience, your target market, and all these different things. So you can learn and so you can grow. So now let's move to the third type, or third way imposter syndrome actually manifests, is with the natural genius. The natural genius. These are people that believe that if they're not naturally good at something, then there's something wrong with them. So if they take longer to master something, they feel ashamed. Now, that's something that I used to feel when I was a little kid, because for me, when I went to school, I always had to study, and there was kids around me that never did their homework, never had to study. I had to study for me to understand this stuff. And that study ethic and that way of being carried me through grade school, carried me through high school, carried me through college, graduate school, doctoral program, because I didn't take it for granted. There was never a situation where I did not have to study, where I did not have to work hard to get something. It never came naturally for me. Never, ever came naturally for me like other people. And I used to hate that. But now I'm like, I kind of like it, because those same people where things just came naturally to them, they had a very hard time when they were met up with something that was actually difficult, because they didn't know how to work through it, because they never had to. So, but that shouldn't be a source of you feeling that there's something wrong with you if it doesn't come natural. So that might be you. That might be you if you are used to excelling without much effort. You have a track record of getting straight A's in everything you do, gold stars in everything you do. You were told frequently as a child that you're the smart one in the family or peer group. You dislike the idea of having a mentor because you feel like you can do everything on your own. Let's see what else. When you're faced with a setback, does your confidence tumble because you're not performing well? Provokes a feeling ashamed. You often avoid challenges because it's so uncomfortable to try something that you're not great at. If that is you, that's a manifestation of imposter syndrome. So we're talking about all the different ways imposter syndrome actually can manifest in your life. So nobody's a natural genius. They're not. There might be people that can not have to study for most things, but there's going to be something they run up against that they're going to have to do some work. But you can't let that cause you to feel like shame if you have to ask for help. So this is overcome by seeing yourself as a work in progress. Again, forgiving yourself, and then identifying specific behaviors that you can grow in over time, and be a lifelong learner. Don't feel like you have to know everything, right? And that's another one of the ways that we'll talk about being an expert as well. So the next way imposter syndrome can manifest itself is the soloist. And this is kind of similar to what I'm saying. You believe if asking for help, you're demonstrating some type of weakness or inability. How many people know people like that, where they don't want to ask anybody for help, even though they know they need help? They don't want to ask anybody for help, because if they ask somebody for help, the person will think that they're going to be looked at as weak or not strong, or they can't do it. That's imposter syndrome, because you should know, even if you ask for help, it's okay. Even if you ask for help, that doesn't take away from who you are, your capability of being in the position that you're in, doing what you're supposed to be doing. So I believe as business owners, we should be having somebody or something help us. Maybe it's a book we should be reading. If it's maybe if it is a mentor, maybe if it's a coach and things like that, we should be leaning into things so that we continually learn and continually grow. Don't feel like we have to know, or we know everything. That's pride. We do not know everything. And so we should not let that be imposter syndrome in our lives. And then the last one that I'm going to talk about is the expert. And that means their confidence is measured by what and how much they know or they can do. So they think they're an expert at everything. They believe that they can never know enough, and they are afraid that others will see them as inexperienced or unknowledgeable if they don't act like they know everything, if they don't stop getting degrees. And here are some of the statements by those people. Do you shy away, or this is what that person looks like, do you shy away from applying to job postings unless you meet every single educational requirement? Are you constantly seeking out trainings or certifications because you think you need to improve your skills in order to succeed? And this is and I'll give this disclaimer. This is for someone that has an assortment, a lot of credentials already, but you just need that extra one. You need that extra one. And I believe in credentials and education and all these different things, but you have to have the right motivation for it, but not because you feel like it's going to prove that you're smarter and smarter and smarter than everybody else. Even if you've been in the role for some time, you relate to the feeling like you still don't know enough? Do you shudder when someone says you're an expert? So these are all indicators of imposter thinking, imposter syndrome. That's really what it is, imposter thinking. You think that you don't know enough. But if God put you in that place, put you in that position, in him, leaning in on the Holy Spirit, you know enough for what he's given you to do. He's graced you to be able to do it. If you're going to start a business, if you are in business, he's graced you to be able to run that business. He's given you hidden knowledge and hidden wisdom and hidden revelation to be able to think through that business, have innovation in that business, and do what you need to do in that business. So Instagram, Cece says yes, yes. So what else about that? It is actually doing that, continually trying to learn and learn and learn about something that you already really know about. But you can use that as a form of procrastination when you feel like you have to get more and more and more and more knowledge and information, right? Or people are on Facebook are saying, that's me, that's me. Right. You have to get more. You feel like you have to get more knowledge and information before you can do anything, before you can act, when that is not God. That is you falling privy to this imposter mindset. There is no shame in asking for help, but don't let it stop you in your tracks. Don't let it stop you. So we overcome this by trusting God and being led in our learning. We should be lifelong learners, but we should be led in the certifications, the degrees, whatever it is. We need to be led in that. Now, for some of us, we do need to have, if we sit in certain places, we do need to have certain degrees or credentials, I'll say it like that, credentials to be recognized. But I believe the Lord, you should have the peace of God when you're getting further credentials, further certifications, all these different things. You should have the peace of God. And I'll give my example with the doctorate. I have a doctorate in education, and I had to get the peace of God to get that because I knew without him, I wouldn't be able to do it. But if I didn't feel like God was leading me to do that, I would not have done it. But I knew it was integral and part of what he had for me to do, purpose and calling and things like that. So that's what I did. And, at the time, I didn't know everything that was going to come after it, but I knew that he said to go ahead and do it. And so I did it. So these are all things that we need to pay attention to. These are all things that we need to have an understanding of. And we're going to continue to talk about this in different ways. Like I said, we're going to deal with the spiritual side of this next week, talking about fear, shame, pride, unworthiness, where that comes from, the wounds, and all those different things, because that's very relevant when the life of an entrepreneur, a kingdom entrepreneur especially. And these are all things that can be setbacks and can stop us from moving forward in what God has called and told us to do. So we need to get a grasp on those things. So I am right on time, because this is meant to be, these life lessons, not life live lessons, are meant to be about 30 minutes, very quick to get things out. I had some quick win videos that were supposed to be up, but got so consumed with the 5-day challenge, had not put those out yet. So I'm going to try to put those out tonight, if not tomorrow, and through the weekend. So we at least have that, because I'm talking about some very relevant things in those as well. And those are for the public. So like I said, these live lessons are going to be on these public channels. I'll probably stick with the Instagram live because we're still trying to build that following. But once we're done launching the KBLN network, or doing a full launch this whole month of April, these live lessons will only be seen in the groups, the private paid group and then the free group. So in saying that, that's all I have. Like I said, the Kingdom Business Leadership Network is open for those that want to participate in that. We have a bomb deal right now. Ends tomorrow at 11:59, where you can get in for $7. And then in that group, we do master classes, the Q&As, book club, all those different things. And those that are already in the group, you're going to see some of those things kind of rolling out this month. in the midst of everything that we're doing. You'll get a calendar and all of that by this weekend. You'll have that. We'll have some spiritual development sessions, a monthly prayer, all different things that we'll have in there. And you can find out about that on Instagram. If you're watching this, it's the KBLN / connect, or the link in the bio, and in Facebook, it's all in the description. So thank you guys for watching. I look to see you all again next Thursday is when we do these live lessons, and that will be the next time that you will see me, unless you are going through our challenge. And if that is so, I'll see you tomorrow at noon for our last day of our challenge, talking about how you can use your business as a platform for ministry. So it will be good. And then after that, I'm gonna take the videos down from those that from the public viewing, so those that register can still see it, and I'm going to repackage them and use them as a mini course for those that are just finding out about us, so that they can have access to that. So and saying all that, thank you guys so much. Where is the class from last Friday? Star asks. Which one is that? The Masterclass? Oh, the Masterclass is actually, it should be on the public page, and it's in your group. So it's in the mastery group, and it's on the public page. And that was the masterclass that we did, the free masterclass that we did. So that is there, so you can see it. And that was on packaging your expertise, your business vision, your business purpose. So when I see it, I'm going to tag you in it so you can find it quicker as well. But I'll tag you where it's at, because I know it's in your group, but it's also on this page. But I'll tag you on both places so you can get to it really quickly. And it's in your membership portal as well. So thank you guys so much. Love you guys. And I will see you next week. If you're interested in jumping on, I'll be coming on again tonight at 9 o'clock on my God Still Heals page, talking about pursuing God in the midst of trials. So that is sure to be a good one. And that one is a Bible study. So we go the full hour. So love you guys. And I will talk to you soon. Very soon. Bye-bye. So I'm going to